I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC middleweight fighter Dricus Du Plessis plans to beat Darren Till, then go after Derek Till's teammate Khamzat Chimaev. Okay. Dricus Du Plessis plans to beat Darren Till at UFC 282, then go after Till's teammate. What do you mean go after? What is that about? Um, Looking to continue his ascent to the top of just up the middleweight ladder. Dricus Du Plessis 3-0 in the UFC meets Darren Till 6-4-1 in the UFC on the UFC 282 main card at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Till's teammate Khamzat Chimaev is eyeing an immediate title shot at newly crowned UFC middleweight undisputed middleweight champion, pound champion Alex Pereira. Du Plessis doesn't think it's fair for Chimaev to jump the line and said he would be happy to welcome him back to the middleweight after fighting Till. Hold on. Dricus Du Plessis is 3-0 in the UFC. He's talking about what's fair already? Like, are you serious? Okay, let me see. I think a lot of people would be very, very disappointed if Chimaev fought Alex Pereira next. I guess that's what he's saying. Du Plessis told the Schmo. I mean, it takes away a lot of the credibility of matchmaking. It takes all the credibility away from rankings. And I think he needs to prove himself at 185 pounds. Okay, I gotta stop saying he's. Chimaev, Khamzat Chimaev, this is what Dricus Du Plessis is saying about him. Khamzat Chimaev's never even beaten any ranked opponent at 185 pounds. So, I mean, I would gladly love to beat Smash Bro #1. After this fight, I get Smash Bro #2. I thought Khamzat was Smash Bro #1. Okay, I guess he's mixing up. If former undisputed middleweight champion Israel Adesanya doesn't get a rematch, an immediate rematch with Pereira after his loss in November, Du Plessis thinks former middleweight title holder Robert Whittaker should be next in line for a title shot. Whittaker faces, well, I don't know if that's, Whittaker is in the works, right? It's still, I don't know if it's been signed yet. I don't know what's going on with Paulo Costa, but Whittaker is in the works to fight Paulo Costa at UFC 284 on February 11th, and Du Plessis expects him to emerge victorious. Okay, we don't really have to get into the. I guess so. I think to keep the division alive, to give a guy like Robert Whittaker the chance, that's where my mind is at. That's a fight I would love to see. Du Plessis said, is he just Whittaker's kryptonite, or is Robert Whittaker not good enough to be the champion? I do think that Izzy's style was just kryptonite for Whittaker's style, and I do think Whittaker can beat Pereira. Okay, wow. So this took kind of a interesting turn. I do respect Du Plessis putting his opinion out there. I totally disagree with the idea that if Chimaev fights Pereira next, right, it takes away the credibility of matchmaking. A lot of people were saying, well, Pereira really didn't defeat too many, top 5, top 10s ranked middleweights to even get his title shot. So, this is not really how it works in the UFC. You can agree with it or disagree with it. It is what it is, but it's not really, if you're ranked #1, you automatically get a title shot, or if you're ranked, if you're ranked in the top 5, you could only fight people in the top. It's just, that's not how this sport works, right? Now, like I said, you can agree with it or disagree with it, but that's just how the sport is. If going to a completely different division, we had Peter Yan fight Sean O'Malley, and Peter Yan was ranked #1. Sean O'Malley was ranked like number 11, right? So it's not like Peter Yan saying, "Well, no, I can't fight this person because they're not ranked in the top 5 or top 10." with me being ranked one, why am I even wasting an opportunity? Or I don't really gain anything. The UFC is just it's not that's just not how it works. It's storylines, it's timing, it's promotion, it's a lot of things. It's not just rankings. Respectfully, if I love Robert Whitaker. Bobby Knuckles is like literally one of my favorite fighters of all time. I really, 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 really do respect and love Robert Whitaker. But personally, I don't want to see Robert Whitaker, epitomize what's happening in the lightweight division, in the welterweight division, where they get some of these top guys, they get 2-3 championship fights, they lose all their championship fights, right? They fight one more fight, they get a nice little victory, and the next fight they want to talk about is another championship. It's just like, Robert Whitaker, God bless him. Personally, I do not believe, I hate to say this, but if he beats Paulo Costa, I don't think he should be next in line for Alex Pereira. I just don't. I think Israel Adesanya should be there. And personally, I like the idea of Chimaev fighting Alex Pereira. A lot of the talk isn't that Chimaev, the rankings, and it doesn't make sense. A lot of the talk is truthfully, people think they really believe that Chimaev could defeat Alex Pereira, right? So I would like to see the fight. I think it's a good fight to make, and that's what it comes down to. Is it a good fight? Is it a good storyline? Can we promote it? Is that what the fans want to see? It's not just, hey, let's just look at the rankings. If you're ranked third, right, you could only fight two. It's like that's just not how the sport works. And like I said, I totally respect Du Plessis' opinion, but he's only 3-0 in the UFC. I love that he's putting his, stuff out there, but, he's not, jumping in front of anybody, If he defeats Darren Till, like, what are we talking about? Darren Till doesn't have that many victories in the middleweight division. So, it's like Du Plessis, keep doing your thing, keep climbing up the ladder in the middleweight division. But I personally don't think, people would, the average UFC fan would make an argument for Du Plessis getting the next middleweight championship fight over Chimaev, right? Like, let's just be, respectfully. Who do you think the average fan would want to see get the title fight next? Du Plessis or Chimaev, right? And right or wrong, that doesn't matter. If Chimaev doesn't have any victories in the middle, or he hasn't fought any ranked middleweight or anything like that, that has nothing to do with how the UFC makes title fights. Personally, I personally want to see Chimaev fight Alex Pereira next. That's just my opinion, right? But let me know your opinion. A little bit of UFC matchmaking, and like I said, I totally 100% respect his, it wasn't like he was just trolling, and it's a very thoughtful, and when I say he, Dricus Du Plessis, it's a very thoughtful, relative smart opinion, right? When he's saying, that we should look at rankings, we should look at people who have top 5 victories, people who have victories over ranked opponents. Those should be the fighters we should be talking about getting title shots. I totally respect his opinion on that, and I don't disagree with him. I just think Chimaev is a completely different monster, and that's what the UFC really likes in their fights, right? Because if it comes down to it, if you look at Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski, Alexander Volkanovski has no wins over anybody in the lightweight division, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, does he deserve a title shot because he's the champion 10 pounds below? Like, I don't. Is that the argument to say, well, if you're a champion, then you could fight anybody, or are we gonna say, unless you defeat, people ranked in the division, that you should get the, title shot? So that's just like my opinion. Let me know your opinion of this story. Much respect to Dricus Du Plessis, and good luck to him versus Darren Till at UFC 282. That's where his focus should be on, and then everything else after that we could talk about. But I'm Jason UFC. Today we have an interesting topic, an interesting debate, differing opinions on between myself and Dricus Du Plessis, but much respect to his very, very, very thoughtful and sensible opinion. I have to say it. Very thoughtful and very sensible. Dricus Du Plessis plans to defeat Darren Till at UFC 282, then go after Till's teammate Khamzat Chimaev. Now, before this video ends, putting that out there, Chimaev is going to see this story, and Chimaev is definitely one to confront people. Obviously, he will be in Darren Till's corner, and he will be in Darren Till's corner. So, to say the least, I expect something, right? There's going to be some words. I'm not going to say an altercation, but just keep your eyes on Dricus Du Plessis, Darren Till, and Khamzat Chimaev this week, right? Because putting a story out there like this first to say that you're going to go after Till, and after you beat Till, you can go after Chimaev. Chimaev is going to respond. Chimaev will respond. It may not be a tweet, but they will definitely see each other this weekend at UFC 282. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.